Nigeria has become that mistress whose house is by the roadside that every single man is attracted to, but none of them want to take her in as a wife. Why? Because she's best off as a mistress, and that is all she will ever remain. Now, in my entire years as a Nigerian, I have never for once thought of a day that I wish Nigeria was still colonized by Britain. Because right now, I wish Nigeria was still under British colonialism. Because then, we will only be battling with one colonial master. But fast forward 65 years later, not only is Britain taking some portion of Nigeria, China has a stake, the United States has a stake, and now we are seeing France trying to grab a portion if they have not done that already. Now, before we go into the juice of everything, I am Zaka Timothy. I react to social, economic, political, whatever issues that concern you and I as a Nigerian. So if you think that what we are doing here, just like the 600 people that believe what we are doing here is not unreasonable, you can please join the community and the family so we can grow as one and project our voice so more people can hear us and hopefully a change can happen. Now, for the sake of those that are not aware, a coup attempt happened where Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri attacked President Patrice Talon of Benin Republic, and the president ran to the French embassy to take shelter. Now, obviously, this has worked because the French president, Emmanuel Macron, phoned President Tinubu of Nigeria to go and make sure that they revive democracy back into a country that is going back into military rule. Now, just like you, I have so many questions regarding how France is having so much say in the matters and affairs of African politics and ECOWAS, so much so that he's ordering our president to do what and what. And of course, we saw it. He invaded, sent a fighter jet into Benin Republic, and they helped the military of Benin Republic to make sure that the coup was not successful. We have to understand that what is going on here is strategic because President Tinubu did not actually act out of law. In fact, he acted rightly, just as every other ECOWAS leader would. If you look at the 1999 Lomé Protocol on Conflicts Prevention, Management, Resolution, Peacekeeping and Security in Article 25E, which authorizes ECOWAS to deploy a standby force for immediate military intervention in cases of actual attempted overthrow of a democratically elected governor, treating it as a regional security threat requiring rapid collective action. And this collective action actually took place because a lot of people were getting it wrong because they think that only President Tinubu contributed to this whole thing by sending Nigerian Air Force there, but it's not true because other close countries like Ghana actually contributed their military force, intelligence and whatnot in order to make sure that this invasion was possible and it was brought back to normalcy. And besides whether this was an influence from the French president or not, if the president has actually called for help, then Nigeria is bound to help because we have seen Nigeria do this countless times in 1999, where we've seen this in Sierra Leone, we've seen this in so many other African countries where Nigeria has actually gone there to bring back normalcy and tame whatever situation that was going on there. So yeah, this is not the first time Nigeria is doing something like this. Now, while I was compiling this, I couldn't help but look into the Nigeria's constitution and the laws that guide President Tinubu making these declarations and sending our armed forces out there to go and carry out acts like this. Obviously, it is legal and it is right because Nigeria, like other West African countries, have this alliance under ECOWAS where they can support militarily and otherwise when the cases or needs arises. Now, under Section 5 sub 4B of the 1999 Constitution, the President as Commander-in-Chief actually has the power to deploy armed forces on combat duty outside of Nigeria without prior Senate approval, except in cases of imminent threat on national security. Now, if you look at 4C of the same section, it actually allows for limited deployment of our armed forces abroad where the president does not need consent of the Senate as far as the National Defense Council has given consent. Then after the whole thing, the Senate can then look and investigate into the situation whether the action by the president was right or wrong. If it is right, it stands. If it is wrong, then they can start talking about impeachment. Now, first and foremost, we need to acknowledge the fact that the Nigerian president has had this undue influence from the French president Emmanuel Macron. You have seen their recent bromance where he visited there, went on vacation for days or whatever it is he calls it, diplomacy or whatever. You can see that they have had this very nice cordial relationship that you cannot categorically state that this is what this relationship has brought about. You cannot say that, okay, from the alliance and relationship with the French president, this is what it has brought about. This is the good that their alliance or friendship has brought into Nigeria. We don't know of any. Please, if there is any, I stand to be corrected. We need to start asking what power or jurisdiction the French president has over President Tinubu for him to call him that the ECOWAS should do what they ought to do. President Tinubu, as the chairman of ECOWAS, knows what he needs to do. He does not need any interference from the French president or any other president in order for ECOWAS to act. This single act by the French president blows a trumpet that France is trying all it can to get hold of Benin Republic. And of course you know why. Because Benin Republic is like that de facto state that exists between the Sahel states that have revolted against France. Of course we know Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger Republic. These people have categorically shown that they are no longer willing to be part of whatever hold the French has on them. And they have done so successfully. France knows that they have lost this, and the only way they can keep an eye on these Sahel states is to make sure that they are close to a state or country that is close to this Sahel state. And this country is no other than Benin Republic and Nigeria. But if Nigeria is for them, then it makes everything easier. A lot of people are not aware, but Nigeria is starting to gain the bad blood from other countries. Ghana, Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the Sahel states. Nigeria is not doing what it needs to do as a big brother in Africa. Nigeria is siding with the neo-colonialists and making sure that they continue the stealing and ravaging of Africa that has been going on for centuries. You have the most pressing security issues in your country. You have one of the worst documentation of terrorist attacks and banditry and kidnapping that has ever existed in the entire history of every nation. You have successfully broken the records of the highest number of deaths that has happened by terrorist attacks in 2025, surpassing the entire number of deaths that happened in Gaza and Ukraine put up together. This same year, military barracks were attacked. People were displaced from their houses and villages. Farmers can no longer farm. It is happening in almost every state in Nigeria. Yet, your priority is that you step into another country to go and make sure that there is peace. This to me is the highest show of misplaced priority ever. Now for you Nigerians, in case you do not know, you're attracting the bad blood in Africa. Very soon, other African countries will start attacking you in their countries. Very soon, other African countries will stop you from entering their countries. Very soon, they are going to sideline Nigeria from every single thing that Africa is doing. And God forbid that other African countries create this alliance like the Sahel states are doing. Nigeria is going to see one of the worst form of segregation that has ever been seen in the entire history of any continent. Because we are not speaking against the ills that are going on here. We are seeing that the president is supporting our colonial masters, yet we are saying nothing about it. This is not right in all forms and colors. If at all, Africa must practice its politics, it must practice that with sovereignty and with power and with strength, free from influence from whatever jurisdiction, government or country, state or nation whatsoever. Now please join the family by subscribing to this channel so we can hit 1,000 people as a family before the end of 2025. I remain my humble self, Zaka Timothy. Until I see you next time, peace.